Hey guys!
And gals!
So another Patreon Q&A session. If you're also interested in participating, have a look on my Patreon page. This is open for all tiers, and thank you Patreons so much for your support. Already we start with the first question from Roman Pocho. I hope I got this right. How do you organize all your music time? Do you have a special evening or day for just sound design or learning new gear? And is there some discipline and structure needed to be creative in making music? What a beautiful question. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, I will start by saying that different approaches work for different people, of course, but there's always space for experimenting and trying new things. So maybe what works for me will also work for you. I really do believe that there's a lot of space for structure and discipline when it comes to being and staying creative. I'm not someone who believes in magic or muse or talent or people who wake up one day and can write a symphony. I believe in hard work and having fun doing so, and I will not wait for the muse to hit me or for a melody to jump into my head, but I will sit down and go to work, giving ideas the time and place to form and become reality. I do my best to have a routine, so I will dedicate certain times, just as you mentioned, for sound design and exploration. So when time comes and I want to compose, I already have some tools and ideas how to approach things. I will also dedicate time for learning new tools. I will sit down with the manual or with the video and go step by step, exploring the instrument. And I will also dedicate time especially for making music, and this is the only thing I will concentrate on, even planning ahead the day before or on the weekend, more or less what are my goals and when do I have time to achieve them. An important tool, really important, is the limitation. So don't say next week or one day. Decide on a specific time and do your best to stick by it. It will not always happen, of course, because life has the tendency to be in the way of things, but you learn from everything you do, especially from so-called failures. So as long as you give yourself time and space, the chances are you will end up being more creative. Again, this is working for me and might not work for you, but you'll never know until you try. Okay, so the next question comes from Jean-Michel Paris. Have you ever tried using two instances of VCV Rack on two separate computers? So yeah, I did this a few times with my laptop and desktop computers, but they were not synced in any way, so I'm not so sure it counts. But I guess that the best way of syncing them will be with using an audio clock signal from one computer to the other. But I never tried it, to be honest. When the VST version of VCV will come out, then you can have multiple instances of VCV running at the same time on the same computer inside a DAW, and then you can really have one for bass, one for drums, one for leads, and so on. Okay, the next question is from Antrax Alu. When a pianist repeats his song by working his right hand, then his left hand, and finally both at the same time, how does a modularist prepares his future performances? Another beautiful question. Well, I have to be honest, I tried to practice as less as I could for my recent live performances, so I could leave enough space for improvisation and happy accidents. But I guess that the way I would approach something like this is, first of all, learning the instruments, learning the tools I will use in the performance, and feel comfortable also if something goes wrong. So I would compare the left hand of a pianist to knowing the tools of the modularist. Another thing I will do is learn how I want to start each track and how to end them. So I would practice over and over again the beginning and the end, so there will be some structure and I will have sort of a safe place I can always rely on. And then everything between is more or less improvised anyway, but the structure is still there. So this will be the right hand of the pianist, knowing the beginning and the end of the pieces. And then at the end, when you know your tools, you know what the left hand is doing without thinking about it, and you know how to start and end your tracks. So what the right hand is doing without thinking about it, you can combine both and have a nice journey during the performance, communicating with the instrument and letting the sounds lead you and having fun, which is the most important. Okay, the next question is from Triubium. What other traditional instruments do you play, and do they affect the way you compose with modular? Okay, so I started out as a drummer, but I didn't play the drums for years now, which is a shame really. But I play also guitar a bit and piano, and there was a short time that I played the cello as well. It was a dream of mine to hug this instrument and listen to it sing while I play it, so I did this for a short while. But the instrument that affected me and still is affecting me in every aspect of life is the drums. I'm still a drummer in my soul. And funny enough, I don't have drums in my music most of the time, but the rhythm, the approach is still there. And if you think about it, also drums are modular in a way, minus the control voltage of course. But you can also arrange them as you wish. You can add and replace parts and build your own custom instrument. And yes, I'm sure that the fact that I also play piano and guitar is also affecting the way that I compose. And many times I will start something on the piano actually before even going to the modular. And I love the combination of acoustic and electronic, so I combine both worlds quite often. Okay, the next question is another one from Anthrax Alu. You're living for a desert island and you have VCV Rack with you. Which book dealing with sound synthesis will you take with you? Okay, so my answer is Microsound by Curtis Rhodes. Definitely this one, for a few reasons. First of all, I'm fascinated by granular synthesis. And this book is all about the time scales of sound and music, and it's an endless universe to explore. Also, I have to be honest, I didn't understand 70% of what's written in this book because it's really technical and mathematical. So I will hopefully have enough time between hunting fish and picking berries to sit down and study everything. But most of all, by reading the parts I do understand, I get really inspired and I have to go ahead and play with sound, explore sound. So definitely Microsound for Microsound. Okay, so the next question is from Stephen Benedict. What music/artists do you listen to often, and what artists or composers do you consider as your main music influence? So here are some composers I listen to a lot lately. First of all, a new discovery for me, Alain Vogelsinger. She has a really unique approach to music, lots of sequences and arpeggios. I love this. Lots of movement, really beautiful stuff. I also listen a lot to State Azure. A true master in my opinion, really an inspiration, beautiful sound and amazing textures. I listen a lot to Radiohead and Tom York. Also, of course, Spongel. I always go back to Are You Spongel, and this is also a really big influence on me. I actually started playing the flute thanks to Spongel, which is amazing. And I also really enjoy so-called classical music. I love Beethoven and Chopin, and they influence me a lot in how I approach music. And one last influence, which is rather new actually, is Terry Riley. I really fell in love with his work and the way he writes and thinks music. And of course, I will put links in the description to everything I mentioned. Okay, so the next question is from Justin Kimes. What's the best way to incorporate modular into more indie folk feel? Well, I'm not so sure about best, but I am sure that modules like Morphagene, Arbor and Clouds could be really nice additions to something like that, recording your voice into them, manipulating it, recording your instruments. That can add so many layers and textures. There are also envelope followers. They can follow the level of an incoming signal, and again this can be your voice or your instrument, and use it as control voltage to control other things in your case. And I guess that also with modules like plaits or braids, you can get some nice percussive textures that can add really interesting layers to your rhythm section. So yeah, I really do believe that even a small modular setup can add a lot to any type of music really. Okay, the last question is from Chuck. What modules would you like to have made into a physical version? Okay, so I started writing a few modules I would love to see as hardware, like more volt modules, all of the geodesics, the FM operator of course. But you know what? There is one module that I will buy 5 of at once and probably 5 more later on, if it was available as hardware of course, and that is Plateau. This module changed the way I think about reverbs, and I would love to have it in my case. I would have a case full of plateaus and chronoblobes. This would be amazing. So if you are watching this and you feel the same, go ahead and donate some money to the developer of Plateau. He's called Veli. Of course, links in the description. Maybe it will help him. Let's all pray that the day will come and Plateau will see the light of day. And that was it. Once again, if you also want to participate in these Q&A sessions, feel free to check out my Patreon page. Thank you patrons, for your support. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.